Welcome to episode 177 of Explode Your Expert Business Show, brought to you by gtex.org.uk. I'm your host, Simone Vincenzi, the Expert Strategist, and this is the podcast for experts who want to become the ultimate authority in their niche while making an impact in the world. Today is a bit of a different episode because instead of talking about business, we talk about an important topic, which is our future generations. Now, I believe that in the coaching world and in the expert world, it's important to give back, in particular to young people and children, because they represent the future of humanity. And that's why I've been working in lots of schools. There were periods where I was working in delivering programs in more than 150 schools every single year. And one of our clients, one of our GTeX lifetime members, Stella Maher, she has a great passion about working with young people, and she's doing great things. And I wanted to give her the opportunity to spread their message on this show, in particular for you guys to learn what does it take really to raise conscious individuals. In fact, in this episode, we are talking about social media, young women, because Stella works mainly with young women, and perfection. In fact, teenage girls and young women face immense pressure to look perfect, and have been feeling the pressure for quite a few decades. In the past, popular magazines or newsstands dictated the standards for how girls should look and what they should wear. Today, the pressure has intensified thanks to social media and other media. And Stella is an incredible youth confidence coach and campaigner as well against cancer. And in this coaching session, we talk about how you can put health above appearance, accepting your women for who they are, and supporting your women to feel beautiful in their own skin, no matter what the shape and their size. So if you believe and you take care about the future generation, then make sure you listen to this interview because you will absolutely love it. And I believe also is relevant for men as well, because personally I struggle a lot with my body image. I went through anorexia, bulimia, overeating. Not many people know about that because it's not relevant in the work that I do in terms of business side. But it is something that is always be very important for me. So listen to this episode; you will absolutely love it. And if you want to become a lifetime member and having great opportunities like this one to be featured in our show, then why don't you join our courses? You can find the link, which is www.gtex.events/call. where you can have a chat with our team and see how can you be part of the lifetime membership or any other program that we have. Also, if you haven't downloaded our Selling from the Stage checklist, you want to create 6-figure presentations and seminars, then get the checklist. The link again is in the show notes. And to receive daily support, to grow your business, get exclusive training, then join our Facebook group, Explode Your Expert Biz. You can find also the link in the show notes, or you can find them as well on Facebook at Explode Your Expert Biz. If you haven't subscribed to the show, subscribe right now. Like, what the heck are you waiting for? Really? It's amazing. And if you want to reach out to me, send me an email at simone@gtex.org.uk. Come straight into my inbox and I answer all your requests, or you maybe want to simply say how much you love our show, and I really appreciate that. Now, without further ado, it's time to hear it from Stella Maher, Social Media, Young Women and Perfection. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show. Today, I'm here with the one and only Stella Maher. How are you doing, Stella?
I'm fine, thank you, Simone. How are you?
I am incredibly well. I'm really excited about this interview. We are going to talk about confidence, the amazing work that you do also for young women, which is very needed in society right now. So I'm really happy to explore the work that you do and the impact that you make in young people's life. But before I start and we talk about that, why don't you give us a bit of background of how did you end up having this passion and doing what you do now?
I think I'd like to start by telling you the story of Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel is a young woman. She's 19 years old. She's 5 foot 4 inches tall. She weighs 70 kilograms, and she has two sides. She has an interior side and exterior side. Right, on the inside, Rachel is very self-assured and confident and strong and beautiful. But the problem is that Rachel has no idea that she has these qualities. On the outside, Rachel feels very insecure. She struggles with low self-esteem. She struggles with lack of confidence, brought on by peer pressure, by family pressure, by academic pressure, societal pressure, and the worst pressure of all, the pressure to look like Kim Kardashian and all the celebrities on Love Island.
Yeah.
That's her biggest pressure. So she's constantly comparing herself with these celebrities because she's constantly being bombarded on social media with images and pictures and messages about these supposedly perfect looking celebrities, and she keeps comparing herself to them. And to make matters worse, one of her friends then tells her that she doesn't have the bikini body, whatever that means. So as a result, Rachel is constantly stressing about her appearance. Last night, Rachel said goodnight to her parents and her kid brother. She walked up to her bedroom. She shut the door. She sat on her bed and she rolled the sleeve, her left sleeve, and she started to cut up her arm with a razor. This is the third time that Rachel has self-harmed. And she's not alone. There are thousands of young people out there who are going through exactly her experience. So my passion is to help young people like Rachel to discover that self-assured, strong, beautiful person hidden inside them, and to help them to connect with that person. My passion is to help them, to help young people to take control of their lives before they sink into the depths of depression and have to resort to self-harming and to eating disorders. And this is why I do what I do. This is why I'm a confidence coach to young people.
This is something I can relate to. I've done a lot of work with young people myself, and self-harm is one of the biggest thing that is affecting young people today. And as you suggested and as you said, is because of this pressure, constant pressure, pressure that they have from the school, from the parents, from the media, from the magazines, from now the social media as well. I would love to know as well from you, what was your journey as a teenager? Were you born super confident? Did you have to grow into it? What was your journey?
Very, very far from it. In fact, as a teenager, I was bullied and I was extremely shy. I had no confidence. I struggled with low self-esteem. I was bullied because I was for being skinny. And because I don't believe that there is any ideal body shape. We're all different. So it doesn't matter whether you're supposedly skinny or shapely or you're like Kim Kardashian. You should be respected and loved for who you are. And so I struggled a great deal as a teenager, and that's also why I decided to focus on coaching young people, because back then I wished I had somebody to help me. I wished I had somebody to hold my hand and to tell me that it was all right to look the way I did. I didn't know that, and I thought it was wrong for me to look the way I did, and I stressed over it, and then I built this huge wall around me, and I was very much a loner. So it was not a very pleasant time.
And how did you come out of it?
Well, I gradually started realizing that I wanted more. I started off being a secretary, actually. I worked in admin. My background is actually in admin. I worked as a secretary and a PA. And I was busy organizing other people's lives. And meanwhile, my own life was a mess. So that insecurity was always there. But gradually, I started to realize that I wanted more out of life. And so I started to develop a passion for self-development.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started finding out that the more I became aware of certain things, the more I wanted to help people to become the best that they could possibly be. Because I believe that in doing that, I would be helping myself as well. So in a way, becoming a coach actually saved me, to put it that way.
What in particular did you use to help you? Because you said becoming a coach saved me. What did you use to change your life? What was the things that you did to have that to be able to move forward in that way?
Well, applying the principles I learned as a coach, it's like the good thing about a coach is that you've got to practice what you preach. You can't tell your clients to do one thing and then do something different. You can't tell them to be positive and then wallow in negativity yourself. So becoming a coach was also helping me to become all those things I wanted to help my clients to become.
And I'm curious about at what point did you realize that you wanted to become a coach? At what point you said, okay, this is the right path for me?
That was about 5 years ago, actually. Yeah, that's when I realized I wanted to be. I attended a session by the body that I studied with. Mm-hmm. They had these taster sessions that they run in London, and I attended it, and that's when I realized that that's what I wanted to do. But even after that, I was still putting it off. It took something else to make me realize that I needed to really get going.
And what was it? Something else? What was it for you?
It took becoming ill with cancer for me to realize that I didn't have, that I could wake up and die the next day, and that I didn't have too much time to mess around. So that's what pushed me.
How did that affect you when? Because getting diagnosed with cancer is not an easy news to take.
Yes.
And I had a lot of friends around me that every day almost I hear someone that I know which is diagnosed with cancer, and I've seen how a lot of them, they change, becomes a turning point in their life. They make a lot of realizations.
Yes.
And other, they just get deep into depression.
Yeah.
So what I'm curious to know from your perspective, what was for you that made you go into use that as a springboard rather than a weight under which you can suffocate?
Well, it was a springboard for me because it gave me that realization that I didn't have too much time to mess around. I mean, cancer, it shows you that, that just, you can't afford to wait and think, I have all the time in the world. Because when you're told you have cancer, the last thing you have is all the time in the world. You could die. That became a reality for me, that I could actually die. Although luckily I survived it. Mm-hmm. But the reality that I could die then was very, very real. And that's what pushed me to go and get my qualification.
It's incredible to see how people like yourself then, First of all, well, congratulations, and I'm really happy that things turned out for the best, and that we met each other.
Yes.
And in particular because of the fact that now this is part of your inspiration, this is part of your story, this is part of who you are. So based on the experience that you had with cancer, is there a message that you would like to give to our listeners right now that you learned from that experience?
Well, what I learned from my experience with cancer is that life is for the living, and that you should make the most of every opportunity that you have, and appreciate the little things around you. Appreciate your family, your friends, your relatives, and if there's something that you've been putting off that you want to do, go for it. Don't keep putting it off.
And that's what you've been a great example. So thank you very much for sharing. I really appreciate it. So I want to talk about the work that you're doing with young people now,
Yes.
because it's very relevant to also the work that we are doing as adults.
Yes.
It's just some slightly different dynamics, but the skills and the tools are very similar.
Yes.
So, what if someone is a young person? Let's start from young people. And someone is a young person and they want to build their confidence up. What are some of the steps that they can take to build their confidence as young people? And also, how can this be related to someone who is actually starting a business or growing a business?
Okay. The great thing about confidence, as I've come to realize, is that no one person is confident every single time of every single day. Not even experts. And as soon as I realized that, I told myself, yeah, you got hope. and so the great thing about confidence is that anyone can acquire it, no matter how hopeless you are or how hopelessly you feel that you lack confidence. Because not even Tony Robbins is confident all the time. You are confident when you are in familiar surroundings and doing things that you're familiar with and with people that you're familiar with. And your confidence evaporates as soon as you find yourself in things that are strange to you, things you've not tried before, things that I'm sure you can relate to this as well, although you're a very confident person.
I do. I
Yes.
definitely can relate.
And so that's why I tell my clients that confidence is a skill that anybody can learn. It's like building a muscle. It just takes practice and repetition. Anybody can be confident,
And
no matter who they are.
And do you find that there are, because you're saying what you said is that you become confident when you are doing something familiar. So if someone wants to become confident in one specific skill, is that a set of action that they can take to build that confidence, or a strategy or a format that you would suggest them to follow?
I was actually going to mention developing a new skill as one of the ways to build confidence. Because if there's a skill that you're trying to develop, then the best way to be confident in that skill is to find out everything there is to learn about that skill and keep learning it and keep practicing it. And the more you do so, the more confident you become. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. I was thinking about when I did the stand-up comedy gig.
Yes.
A few months ago, was that last month? And even though public speaking and speaking in public, I'm very confident and do it every day. And unless it's a really big gig, I don't almost feel nervous anymore because of the amount of hours and amount of speaking gigs I've done.
Yes.
However, when I had to do my 5 minutes of stand-up comedy, oh my God, I was nervous. I was scared.
Because you're not familiar with it, are you?
No, not at all.
Exactly. Yeah, but does that mean that you didn't get to learn and acquire the skill? Maybe you're still in that process, but that's a skill that you're working on at the moment, and the more you do it, the more confident you become. And I have to say that you were great, actually. during
Thank you.
the comedy gig.
I appreciate. I'm happy you went well. I'm
Yeah.
happy. I'm happy you went well, and people kept laughing. So that
Yes.
that was
You
good.
did really well. It didn't show that you were nervous.
Oh my god, I was so nervous, so nervous, and is really fascinating because in that case, in my opinion, all the nerves almost went away when I stepped on stage.
Yes.
So I was nervous before, but
Yes.
when I stepped on stage, because I feel is my element,
Hmm.
then all the nerves went away, and I was
Yeah.
just
And you were having fun.
I was just having fun and talking, and people were laughing, and I said, "Okay, this is good." And the more they were laughing, the more confidence I was getting. So I remember at the end, my jokes were flowing much better than at the very beginning, because at the beginning I was still testing the ground and see how the audience was responding, and then all the audience, they were pretty drunk, so they would laugh at anything. So they
I
kept
was
laughing.
drunk.
And I said, "Okay, this is a good gig. I can just play." Uh, I think is for people, as you're suggesting, is also to understand that it takes time, and
Yes.
the more complex the skill or the attitude that you want to build is,
Yes.
then the more time it takes, and not to be, get too much annoyed with themselves if it takes few years, because it might take few years to become
Yes, it could
totally
take
confident.
years. Yes. After all, how long does it take to get a qualification? How long does it take to become a doctor or a lawyer? It takes years.
Yeah,
So it's the same with building your confidence. Yeah.
absolutely.
And there are also some simple things you could do to develop your confidence, starting with staying away from negative people. That's
Hmm.
number one, because nothing deflates your confidence as much as hanging around people who are constantly putting you down.
How
That's
do we
number
how
one.
do we get rid of negative people?
You don't necessarily get rid as in oops, try not to move too much, as in push them away. But find a way, maybe stop accepting invitations from them if they invite you out. You know, have a very good reason why you can't go out. Tell them very nicely that you've got all that commitments. Honestly, there are some people who just, oh my goodness, just drain the energy and the
Yeah,
life out of you with their outlook.
yeah. So
And I have been around some of them. You're not one of them, by the way. You're,
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
you're the opposite.
So now we talked about confidence. We talked about staying away from negative people, and I think, guys, I mean, Stella is working a lot with teenagers. So for teenagers, it's even thinking
Yes,
about their peers, the people that they hang around with,
absolutely.
and it's very difficult for teenagers because I find that you know they feel that they always have to say yes. I remember when I was a teenager, I was a
Yeah, me
massive
too.
people pleaser because I wanted to be with the cool kids,
Mhm.
and some of them, many of them actually, the energy was very draining, and because I didn't enjoy being there, but I wanted to be part of that group because there was the group of the cool kids,
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
wasn't a cool kid.
Mm.
And I think it happens also for in the entrepreneurial space.
Mm.
There are some people that will hang out in environment as an entrepreneur just because they think that they have to,
Yes.
because of the business opportunities, or the the things they're going to learn, or the connections that they're going to make. But actually, they don't enjoy being there. It's an
Mm.
environment that is not conducive to them.
Yes.
So, as an entrepreneur, as an expert, use the same advice, apply the same advice, make the choice,
Yes. It's,
and be
it's
very
for
selective.
particularly for the young people, I would say educate them, which is what I'm trying to do. When they that's why I'm trying to run programs and workshops that will educate them to know how to relate to those people, the negative people who are always putting them down, and to know what to say to them, and to also know how to how to filter out the things that they hear. Because what happens is when you take all these things in, you're being told you're fat, you're ugly, your mates tell you that you have big ears and they laugh at you, and you go home at night and then you dwell on these negative things, and they fester in your head, and that's where the problem starts. But if they learn how they can overcome, how they can dwell on more positive things, and push the negative thoughts to the background, like just let them fade out.
Yeah.
If they learn how to do that, then gradually they will acquire the skills to build on their confidence. And for the adults in business, I would say simply take the things you need out of the meetings and the conferences, and just leave the negative ones that don't serve you. Yeah, simply pick and choose, like in a sweet shop. Go and pick and choose the things that will serve you, the things that you love, and the things that you benefit from, and leave those that won't serve you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It takes practice, but
I completely agree with you, Stella. And right now, for the people that are starting a business or starting an expert business, that are listening at the moment, or people that are growing as well, knowing what you know now, of the experience that you had in business so far, what is something that you know now that you wish you knew at the very beginning?
I suppose I wish I knew back then how to relate to people. I wish I knew how to be firm and assertive. I wish I knew how to say no to people. I wish I knew how to be, more firm, basically. Yeah.
And why is that important for a business owner?
It's very important because you cannot please everyone. You have to conserve your energy. Building a business is tough enough as it is. When you're trying to be everything to everyone, it's not going to work. You've got to also know when you're being taken advantage of. Because I didn't know this back then, it was very easy for people to take advantage of me. And like you, I was very much a people pleaser, and I wanted people to love me, but that didn't serve me. I've come to realize that now, and I'm happy that I do now, but I wish I knew back then.
Thank you for sharing. Now, last couple of questions before we wrap up, Stella. You are a GTeX lifetime member, and
Yes.
what is the reason that made you join the lifetime membership, and what you love about being part of the GTeX family?
Well, when I got my coaching qualification, I knew I wanted to do something. I knew I wanted to build a coaching business, but I wasn't sure how to start. And joining GTeX gave me that clarity and helped me to develop a structure, and also to start to get ideas about my signature program, which was really very, very helpful. And the great thing about GTeX is that they're brilliant at supporting you and also providing you with the resources you need to build a professional business. So what I would say to anybody who is considering joining GTeX is that if you are starting off, or even if you've already built a successful business, but if you want that exposure and that recognition as an authority and an expert in your business, I highly recommend GTeX.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening right now, you want to apply to become a member, there is a link in the show notes. Just click the link and apply for a call, and we can explore ways in which we can work together, and looking at the different programs that we have. Now, Stella, I have two more questions for you before we wrap up. The first question is, how can people get in touch with you if they want to be part of what you're creating? Because I know there are a lot of people that are listening right now that are working with young people that have the same passion as you, where you can collaborate, create resources together, open each other doors and opportunities. So if someone wants to follow your work and get in contact with you, what are the best ways?
The best way is to connect with me on Facebook, um, and also to follow me on Twitter. My handle is at the Lioness Within Coaching. At
Okay.
the Lioness Within Coaching.
So at the Lioness Within Coaching on Twitter and
No,
Instagram.
sorry, that's on Instagram. I
That's on
meant.
Instagram. Okay.
Instagram.
At the
Yes.
Lioness Within Coaching on Instagram, and also Stella Maher
Stella Maher on Facebook.
on
You can
Facebook.
find me on Facebook. Send me a message and we can connect.
That's fantastic. So the last question I have, and I want to wrap up this episode in this way, because I know that working with young people is getting in school in particular is not that easy, because school, they don't see this type of development as a priority for the young person. In particular, public schools, but also a lot of private schools. They're more about getting great marks on English and math, but they forget a lot of time to the personal development of the students, which, in my opinion, is actually even more important than the
Yeah.
grade of the math
Yes.
and English. So, if you could have a moment to appeal, to send an appeal, to send a message to those schools, what would you say to them about the importance of the work that you do?
What I would say to organizations like that is that when these issues that affect young people are not tackled, it doesn't only affect their self-confidence and their academic performance, it affects them, their mental health. It pushes them into depression, social isolation, self-harming, all sorts of eating disorders like bulimia and anorexia and even body dysmorphic disorders. And it becomes more difficult to treat those conditions once they're developed. I say prevention is better than cure. It's better to nip those problems in the bud and have these young people educated on how to cope with societal pressures and acquire the skills and arm themselves with the skills that they need to cope with such pressures before it escalates to levels where they now need doctors to help them.
Thank you for sharing, Stella. So, anyone who is listening right now and works in the public sector or the private sector, in particular in the school, and works with young people, remember what Stella said. Prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
Because once they develop these issues, then the last thing you're thinking about is the grade that they are
Yeah,
going to have in
absolutely.
math or English. But it's more is you're going to be worried about saving their lives sometimes.
Yeah.
So if we can avoid that and prevent this to happen, so we can create a world with more conscious adults, because they are going to become adults, those young
Yes.
people, one day. So
Yes.
they are the future. Stella,
Absolutely.
thank you very much for joining today. It's been a pleasure to have you as a guest.
Likewise, Simone. Thank you very much for having me.
You are welcome indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show. Today, we didn't talk much about business, but we talked about something which is, I think, even more important, which is the development of our future generations. As someone who is, like myself, worked for many years with young people and still working with young people, remember what Stella said. And if you are a parent as well, make sure that you put effort into developing your child's and your young person social skills and personal development skills, because they are going to be way more important than any other grades that they're going to get in math or English or geography, whatever. So remember that. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, make sure that you subscribe right now and leave us a good review, a 5-star review, so we can reach more people with the show. Thank you very much from Stella and myself, Simone Vincenzi. I'll see you next episode. Ciao.
Thank you, Simone. Bye-bye.